Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at Command & Colors Medieval. This is a new version or a new installment, I guess you could say, in the Command & Colors system designed by Richard Borg. And it reenacts some of the different medieval battles throughout history. Specifically in the core box, you're talking about the Romans versus the Huns in a number of different configurations there. There are a number of different scenarios in the rule book, as with the other Command & Colors games, and they all have different nuances and things like that. So there's a lot of little tidbitty type stuff in this game. So we're not going to cover all of that. We're going to give you a basic understanding of how some of the different things work together, and then we'll come back with some final thoughts in just a few moments. So let's get down to the table. So here I have a scenario of Command & Colors Medieval set up for you, and the goal of Command & Colors Medieval is for you to accrue a certain number of victory banners determined by the scenario they're playing. This specific scenario requires 7 victory banners to be won throughout the course of the game, and the first person to have done that will be considered the victor. Now, the way that you get victory banners is by completely eliminating units, all 4 blocks of the units, or if you're able to eliminate a leader who is by himself, you also get a victory banner for that. Some scenarios also give victory banners for holding certain parts of the battlefield. So it just determines, it's determined by the actual scenario how you're going to get it, but generally speaking, you're going to be getting victory banners for eliminating units, making them retreat off the battlefield, those kinds of things. Now, a round of Command & Colors Medieval is carried out in 5 different phases. The first phase is where you're going to play a command card from your hand, and then you're going to use that card to order certain units on the battlefield. That's phase 2. The third phase will be movement, where the units that you ordered will be able to move toward your objective or toward a unit that they want to attack. The fourth phase is going to be the combat round, where you can make ranged combat, close combat, those kinds of things. And then there's a fifth phase where you're simply ending the turn. You're going to draw up to your starting hand of 5 in this specific scenario, combat cards, and then another round will begin. Generally speaking, there are 2 kinds of command cards that are in the deck and also in your hand. There are section cards, which will allow you to order a certain number of units within sections of the field. For example, forward allows you to choose 2 units from each section of the battlefield. So your left flank, your right flank, and your center, you're able to order 2 units in there. There's also Command Center, where this is kind of a special card where you're going to be able to order a certain number of units based on the number of cards that you have in your hand at that specific moment in time. And then there are also special command cards that simply you read the text, you do what it tells you to do, and that's the orders that you'll be able to give for different units in whatever section of the battlefield that you choose. And then there are also leadership section cards, which allow you to do other things like use inspiration points. When you play leadership section cards, it gives you the ability to use your inspiration tokens to possibly use these effects rather than the effect of the card that you just played. In addition, inspiration tokens also allow you to do certain things on top of playing a section card. For example, if you didn't want to use any of these special kinds of actions, you could use an inspiration token to move a leader by himself, in addition to what your section card allows you to do. And it also can give you certain kinds of bravery or battle bonuses. For example, you can roll an additional die in combat, or you can ignore 1 flag in combat if you were not able to otherwise. But that would be done at the expense of using 1 of your inspiration points. So generally speaking, anytime you play a leadership action card, you can use the effect of the card itself, or you can spend an inspiration point and use one of the effects that are on this sheet. And it is worth noting that there is a sheet for the Byzantine or the Roman or the Vandal side, and there's also a different special inspiration action sheet for the Huns. So as the Romans are the first ones to act in this specific scenario, the Romans are going to go ahead and play a forward card, which allows me to order 2 units in each of the 3 battlefield sections. Now that I've played my command card, I'm going to give orders to 2 units in each of the fields of battle. So in this field of battle over here, we're going to go ahead and tell these guys to open fire. They have a range of 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to open fire on these archers right here with this unit. This light cavalry unit here is going to go ahead and move forward. They have a movement of 4. So they're going to go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4. And they will either be able to attack this unit or this unit. It just depends on how the dice rolls go. So that's these 2 from this field. These 2 over here, I'm just going to be repositioning some of the units. So we're going to take this unit here because it's on the division line. It can be ordered in this unit or this unit. So we're going to go ahead and move these guys 2 over this way. And then these guys will go 1, 2 like that. And so that's my center section. Then over here on my right, I'm going to be able to order any 3 of these units here. This leader will go 1, 2 and take that hill. And then these guys here will move 4 and then attack. But I think we'll just go ahead and move 1, 2, 3 like this. Not their full movement of 4, but then they'll be able to attack one of these 2 adjacent units as well. Now in phase 4, which is combat, you're going to be able to make ranged and close combat attacks. Generally speaking, a unit that has been issued an order in phase 2 will also be able to make an attack in phase 4 combat. Now there are basically two kinds of attacks. There's ranged combat, which is going to happen here with these archers. They're going to fire on these archers. And then there's also close combat attacks where you are adjacent to an enemy unit and you're going to attack them. And there's a little bit of a different procedure for each of those, so I'll briefly go over each one. For the ranged combat, you simply have to announce what is the firing unit, and then you'll also have to check for range. They have a range of 4, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. They are within range. You also have to check line of sight, so they do have a clear line of sight here. You draw from the center of one hex to the center of another, and if it has any obstructions, then it's generally speaking, it doesn't have line of sight, but because we have clear line of sight here, they are able to fire. And then you're also going to determine the battle dice again, and the archers here have a 2 if they don't move and 1 if they do move, so they'll be able to roll 2 dice. So they're going to take these 2 dice and roll them and see what happens. They're generally speaking looking for the kind of symbol which is on the unit they are trying to hit. For example, these are a light archer unit, so they're looking for green circles in order to hit. And so they roll, and no green circles were rolled, so that volley of arrows was ineffective. If they had rolled something like this, then that would be 1 hit on this unit. They would have to remove a block, and then we can move on to the next unit that's going to attack. If a leader is attached to that unit that's firing, leadership symbols will also add hits. So in this case, there would have been 2 hits levied against that unit, and 2 blocks would have had to been removed. A roll like this, however, would have caused 1 hit and 1 retreat. But since this unit is adjacent to 2 friendly units, they are considered bolstered and they can ignore 1 flag. So they would not have to retreat in this specific instance. They would have to take 1 hit, however, and then if they wanted to, they could retreat. But more often than not, you'll want to ignore retreat flags. And now for the light cavalry unit, they're going to choose to go ahead and attack this light bow unit here. And they moved 4. Now, if they were going to fire at range, they'd only be able to roll 1 die. But since they are in close combat, they're going to roll 2 dice in that close combat. Now, with a combat here, this unit has the ability to evade. And evade simply says you're going to announce that if I'm still alive after this combat, I'm going to retreat, make a tactical retreat if you want to say it that way. But they have to announce at the very beginning before dice are rolled. Now, if they choose to evade, they will not be able to battle back if they're alive after the attacker rolls his dice. But in this general case, we're going to say that they're not going to evade. They're just going to stand their ground. So we're going to go ahead and roll their battle dice against them, which is 2. and we have 1 hit and a retreat. Look at that. Well, that is one thing that we do. So 1 is going to be removed just like that, and then they're going to have to retreat if they wish. They don't have to because they are bolstered again. So we're not going to retreat because we do want to get the battle back. And so this unit now has the opportunity to battle back against its attacking units, and it takes its number of combat dice, which in this case is 2, and rolls them. And there are 2 hits here. Now they rolled swords here, which in this particular instance doesn't do them any good because they're a light bow unit. If, for example, these warriors over here had this roll, they would actually be able to score 2 hits on this cav unit here. But because they are light bow, this is 2 misses. These 2 units over here that moved don't have any range, and they don't have anybody adjacent to them, so they won't actually be able to have any combat. Same thing with this one. They don't have any range, actually have hills in the way here as well. So these won't be able to combat. The last unit we have that is able to combat is this right over here, and so this light cav unit is going to attack one of these 2 warrior units. So we again get our 2 battle dice, and we can roll them against, let's say, this unit right here. So with this combination, we actually don't score any hits. Because we don't have a leader attached to this specific unit, this doesn't count as a hit. And then we're looking for blue triangles for the medium warrior infantry unit that we're shooting at, and we rolled a green. So that doesn't count as a hit either. So in that first result, we didn't actually score any hits at all, but let's say that we were able to do this and also this. Well, much like over here, you would score 1 hit and then they would have to retreat unless they chose to ignore this, which, because they are adjacent to at least 2 friendly units, they can ignore that, which they probably would in this situation. Now, if we had some light infantry over here trying to close combat this medium infantry over here, then there is a possibility that swords would also count as hits, in addition to, if a leader is attached, the leadership symbol, or just the basic blue triangle. So if you roll swords between 2 different infantry units in close combat, then these also would score hits. So in this particular instance, you'd have 2 hits scored against this medium warrior infantry unit. But because they have a superior class, these guys are medium and these guys are light, they can ignore the first sword rolled against them, which instead of 2 hits would mean that these people only get 1 hit because they have superior armor. But as it stands, no hits were rolled, so nothing happens here. All of my other units cannot attack. That would end my turn. I would draw a new card to replace the combat card that I used, and then it would be my opponent's turn. And generally speaking, that's how you play Command and Colors Medieval. There are other nuances, of course, and then also for experienced players of the game, they also have noted that there is a little brown triangle, kind of like a play symbol, that is mentioned throughout the rulebook, where there are differences between other Command and Colors games and this medieval version of that same system. There's about 12 places where this symbol shows up in the rulebook. Most of them are talking about the different inspired actions, which is newer for this one. And then there's a couple of other terrain features, which some of these things have. For example, these city walls and all of the hexes that come with this. There's some more different rules for that. But generally speaking, it plays very much the same as other styles, other versions of this system, with slight nuances. Now, as most of you probably know, I am a very big fan of the Command and Colors system. I am more of a fan of Memoir 44, Battlecry, and Battlelord, and probably in that order as far as which games from the system, Command and Colors system, I really enjoy. Now, I have enjoyed other games, but by and large, the Command and Colors Ancients and some of the more ancient historical battles games, I've not really enjoyed much, just simply because they are not my style, I guess you could say. I don't have that the same level of interest in that era of history as I do in World War II and Civil War history. So because of that, I've kind of shied away from them as I was playtesting this game. Some of the reasons why I don't like this use of the system as much as the other ones that I do enjoy. So we'll hit on some of those in my pros and cons section. So let's go ahead and get to that. So let's go ahead and start with my pros first, as usual. My first pro of this is simply that it is another Command and Colors system game, and I really do enjoy that system. I like the way that it provides a level of ease into reenacting these different battles. Traditional war games are very specific. They're very detail-oriented. They take a lot of other things into account, like logistics and battlefield conditions, and is it raining outside? Is it overcast? That's going to affect our vision, and all of those kinds of things. And that's well and good. It's just not fun to me. So I like that some of that is abstracted away in this Command and Colors system, and that's what I really enjoy about it. I love the card-driven nature of it as well, because I can take my hand of cards and do what I can with them. There is a level of randomness to that, though, because you could get cards that only affect one side of the battlefield, and that's, in my opinion, part of the fog of war. You're not always going to be able to see that your opponent is pushing this flank. You're going to be focused on your own plan, so to speak. So that's part of the thing that I like about this system. Another part of the system that I like are the dice and what you need to roll in order to score hits. It is not some arbitrary number or something like that. With Memoir 44, you're rolling the silhouette of the kind of unit that you're attacking. In this one, you're looking for certain symbols if your leader is attached. In addition to geometric shapes that are colored a certain way that match the kind of unit that you're targeting. So the system is what I really enjoy, and that's my first pro. My second pro, and it is more curtailed towards this specific version, are the inspired actions. And the inspired actions are really kind of a cool addition, in my opinion, because it gives you another layer of tactical or strategic quality to the game. Furthermore, it's different. The kinds of actions that you're able to do is different for what side of the battle you're playing. So I also like that because it provides differentiation from your opponent more than just the kinds of units you're able to put onto the field. I like that it's kind of a currency in the game, and it's very similar to the mana or a magic that is in battle lore. So maybe that's why I have a little bit more of a liking for it than some of the other Ancients games. A third pro of the game is the kind of sandbox quality that it has to it. Now, you do have scenarios that you can play throughout the course of the rule book. But in addition to that, you can go online and there are any number, maybe not for this game specifically since it just recently came out, but you can find any number of different kinds of scenarios that have been made by other fans, and they may or may not be balanced, but you can tweak them as well. You can create your own scenarios using the terrain tiles that come with the game, and just a little bit of research online to see what the battlefield conditions were and what units were there and that type of stuff. So there's a level of sandbox quality to this game that is inherent in the system, I think. But more often than not, I don't do that. I just stick with the scenarios that are there, and that's usually more than enough. But it's there. It's a possibility for you can do. It's kind of like, the deck building games of the like a Magic the Gathering and that kind of stuff. You can buy the commander decks and just play with that, or you can build your own. Well, it's very similar in this respect, where you can just play the scenarios, and that's probably going to be a lot of game, or you can make your own. And I like that sandbox quality here that is presented. Now, as we get into the cons section of the game, I'm going to use one of the things that I didn't really talk about that much in the explanation as one of my cons. So and that is the leaders, these little guys that are on the field. Now, they can really produce a lot of positive things for you, but they also are basically victory points in and of themselves. So you really do have to protect them, which, again, a lot of people will say that's a positive thing. It's just not something that I want in the game. So that's why it's a con for me, because it's another layer of complexity that's put onto a game that I don't want the complexity in. So it's a con there. So basically with leaders, whenever they're attached to a unit, if that unit takes hits, there's a possibility that leader will be eliminated through one of those hits that unit just took. And so you have to roll some additional rolls to see if that leader was the one that got hit. So, okay, I get it. I get it. It's thematic. There's another guy, and sometimes people will target leaders and that type of stuff. So I understand that it is a cool thing about the game. I just don't like it. And so that's why it's a con on my aspect. I don't like how leaders add more to a game that I don't want anything else added to as far as complexity is concerned. My second con about the game is about something that I did talk about, and that is the bolster ability that you have during combat. So if you are adjacent to at least 2 other friendly units, then you can ignore flags. It kind of replaces the sandbags of Memoir 44, but I don't like the line aspect of this style of combat. So it's a con for me. It again, if you break your line, that unit that you just broke away from your line is a sitting duck as far as retreating is concerned and being eliminated. So I understand, I get it. Please understand that I understand what's going on here, and I know it's the style of combat, and it's very thematic for this era of battle history. I just don't like it because it provides another layer of complexity, again, in a game that I don't want any more complexity with. I like the system bare bones, so to speak, which is what I think Memoir 44 kind of is, but I really enjoy that. Now, kind of piggybacking on this con is retreating. Retreating is really heavy-handed in this one. With a game like Memoir 44, you have to retreat 1 hex for every flag that's rolled. But units in this game will retreat multiple hexes for each flag rolled. Some of the units retreat no less than 4 hexes. That's really close to being off the battlefield if you're not careful. So, and again, all of the same retreat rules apply, where if you can't retreat, then that translates to a hit that your unit has to take. So it could be that a retreat, if you're not 4 hexes away, could mean that you're going to move 3 hexes back and lose another member of your squad. So retreating is really heavy-handed in this game, and it can really hurt your forces a lot. So with all that having been said, I'm going to give Command & Colors Medieval a 7 out of 10. Now, you probably think that that's low for me, and it really is because I really enjoy the Command & Colors system. But this just has stuff in it that I don't enjoy as much as those other games that don't have those things in it. The leaders, the bolster action, or ability rather, the heavy-handed retreat, keeping that line intact. I like sending those splinter, secret ops units in and knowing that they can probably hold their own. And it's just, you can't do that in this because once you break that line, those units are really kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So with all that being said, 7 out of 10. I still approve of the system. I still approve of the game. It is good. I will play it, but it's just not what I want to play if I'm playing a Command & Colors game. So 7 out of 10 for Command & Colors Medieval. Thanks for joining me. We certainly appreciate it. And we'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.